Told you I would get back to you real quick. So here's part 2 of my top 10 wrestling villains. Now, number 5 on my list is Sergeant Slaughter. This is from the early 90s during the Gulf War. I was just a little kid. I didn't really know all that much about the Gulf War or anything like that. All I saw was just him being an un-American, I guess, for lack of a better word. He was really good as a villain, and especially when he defeated the Ultimate Warrior. I was a fan of the Warrior, and just to see Sergeant Slaughter, the way they built up Sergeant Slaughter 2 as a villain was done really well, and it made people really hate Sergeant Slaughter throughout that rivalry with Hulk Hogan. So much so that I found out when I watched the WrestleMania retrospective DVD that there were actually death threats against Sergeant Slaughter. So I was like, oh. When I saw that, I was like, oh man, yeah, I guess so, because he was an Iraqi sympathizer. It was one of those things that when you're a kid, you don't realize. You just see the villain. You know, when you see as an adult, and see an interview with Sergeant Slaughter himself talking about the incident, it was like, whoa, this guy was so good at being a villain that people were really thinking that they should kill him. Kind of nuts. You think about it. Unfortunately, I don't remember too much about the rivalry. It's just his ability to get real death threats had to put him in the top 5 to me. Number 4 on my list is Hulk Hogan. Went from being the big hero for all the little Hulkamaniacs to being the most dastardly villain in WCW with 3 letters. NWO. Yes, that whole scene at Bash at the Beach in 1996, that was a turning point for WCW, because that was when they really skyrocketed because of whole reality programming with Hall and Nash and who's the third mystery partner, who's the third man, and then you see Hulk Hogan coming down in red and yellow thinking he's going to be the one to help out Sting, Macho Man, and Luger. And then all of a sudden, he drops the leg on Randy Savage, and you realize he's the third man. And the crowd, you go back and watch it, that crowd is just pissed. You just see the trash getting thrown. And Hogan, to his credit, really embraced being a villain, just talking so much crap about all the fans who used to be the Hulkamaniacs. And then, because at that point, things were changing, he felt he had to change, I guess, and he really knew how to change his character, be more arrogant, be pompous, be an a-hole to the crowd. It was great. He really knew how to get the fans to hate on him and want anybody to take that title away from him. Really cool to watch, especially the transformation of him going from the biggest hero in the world to just being a dastardly villain. Really cool to see. Speaking of transformations to villains, number 3 on my list is Shawn Michaels. Yeah, this is one of the most infamous scenes in WWE history, in my opinion. I'll do it with 2 words. Barber shop. Yes, the barbershop incident, because I was a huge fan of the Rockers, one of my favorite tag teams ever. And I always wanted to see them get those tag team titles. I thought they had it. Then my brother, I think, was somebody's like, no, I don't think they had. So really, I want to see them win the titles. And so watching that segment, I think I watched it live. Watching that segment on WWE TV, the barbershop, and what was great is they had the WWE magazine, and it had a little thing where they're back to back, and it's like, oh, the Rockers splitting up, and then it makes it seem like, oh, they're going to stick together and be a tag team and become tag team champions, and you're happy. And all of a sudden, Shawn Michaels just super kicks Marty Jannetty right in the chin and then throws him through the barbershop window. Again, go back and watch that segment on the network or wherever you're going to watch it. And I think even on the WWE the OMG disc, DVD, 50 Most Shocking Moments, that's on the list. they talk about that incident, and they actually show Shawn Michaels throwing him through the barbershop. You see the reaction of the crowd. Everybody's so stunned, and what was great was Shawn Michaels picking up the article and ripping it in half and just showing himself like, I'm the man now. And he really embraced being a villain. He embraced being an arrogant, pompous jerk and singing his own theme song, which I don't think anybody did at that time. Having Sensational Sherry walking with him down the aisle, holding up the mirror and him checking himself out, just being the sexy boy. And he really embraced being a villain. And then later on, with him and Diesel, that whole villainous team, they were good. They knew how, and not to mention, he knew how to get Diesel to be the hero by turning on him. That was really well done. So it was cool to see him be a villain. And then he didn't become a hero until, I think, late 95. No, wait. It was right after WrestleMania 11, actually. That's when it happened. And so Shawn Michaels really knew how to play the villain, especially from, I think, 91 to 95. It was just interesting to see him evolve into that sort of that role of him being the villain that he was. Really cool to see. So, number 2 on my list is Triple H. Yeah, Shawn Michaels' friend, Triple H. Now, whether he was Hunter Hearst Helmsley, the Connecticut Blue Blood, or he was the Degenerate in DX, along with Shawn Michaels, again, 2 really good villains playing off each other, being degenerates and being a-holes, or his time with, well, I wouldn't count his time with the corporation because it was pretty good, but, well, I'll get into that later. You going into Evolution, and then after Evolution, just being an a-hole, being a jerk, and into the Authority. Now, he's a really good villain. And again, he's the kind of villain that can get the crowd to hate him. He knows how to do it. It's a little more difficult now because you have the smart thing that you have to not cheer who WWE wants to cheer. You have to cheer the villains. You're going to cheer the villains because that makes us cool. But Triple H will be smarter than them and know how to get them to side against Triple H. So, not to mention, he knows, again, losing the matches to make the hero, bring the hero up, elevate the hero. The only time I thought that he should have won, I was hoping, or he probably, if you want to say should, I don't like using that. Well, one match I thought that I was really hoping he would lose, and it would have been great to have seen him lose, was actually WrestleMania 19 against Booker T, because Booker was one that was really being brought up, and for some reason, since he didn't win the title in WrestleMania 19, it did help establish Triple H, and it probably did make sense to have Triple H as a villain to be the champion, because again, once he finally drops the title, you really can root behind the person who he loses it to. But who's to say whether or not he should have lost? But as good as Triple H is as a villain, as great as he is as a villain, he can't top number 1. And that is No. Number 1 is not Vince McMahon. Number 1 is the McMahon family. All of them. All of them are such good villains. Vince McMahon, after the Montreal Screwjob and the Bret screwed Bret, he just took off as being a villain. And once he became the on-air personality and really showed the dastardly, devious, just almost... I'll let JR, I'll quote JR to have this on this one. I remember right before I watched the Hell in a Cell DVD, and right before Vince McMahon got into Hell in a Cell, JR said The man who will take who will mount a hostile takeover of hell once he gets there. And then later on in the match, he said, "This man of the structure itself. We call this structure Satan's structure. Now there's the Satan superior." Yeah, the guy, he was such an evil bastard that you just wanted everyone he went up against to just beat the crap out of him. Even now, when he was trying to screw over Roman Reigns and trying to even fire him the night after TLC, he knew how to get the fans to cheer for the person opposite him. But he's not the only one. Shane's great at it. Sometimes he can be the hero, but he's really good as a villain. His rivalry with the Big Show. Which way did he go? Which way did he go? The McMahon's rivalry with DX. Again, he was such a great villain. And even Stephanie McMahon. Linda, since she's not on TV as much, the times she has been a villain, it's been hilarious. Like the time she fired JR, it came out like, oh, you bitch. But the biggest bitch of the four is Stephanie, because she just needles everyone. She really knows how to just drive everyone crazy and just when you watch her, I know some people think that she's bad for WWE TV, but I enjoy the hell out of her because of how good of a villain she is. The only downside for her as a big villain, as opposed to Vince McMahon as the big villain from the late 90s and the Attitude Era and the Ruthless Aggression Era and the early 2000s, is that you can beat the crap out of Vince McMahon and no one's going to be bothered by it. You can't do that to Stephanie McMahon because she is a woman, and you're like, oh, you can't have a guy just beat the crap out of a woman, even though they kind of did that on occasion, but not as much as they did with Vince McMahon. So she really is, she's grating in a good way, because she's the kind of grating where you just want to see her just shut up by somebody sticking it to the person that she wants to win the match. And not to mention, she has what I think is one of the best, if not the best, villain turns in the Attitude Era. Yeah, and Armageddon 99, go watch that match. I know some of you, oh, I saw that coming. Oh, I saw that coming. No. Go back and put your mindset into 1999. You could not have seen that coming at all. And the way it happened was just pitch perfect. It was great. And then when you watch the next night on Raw, it's like, oh crap! I can't believe she actually did that. Yeah, that's why not just Vince McMahon, the entire McMahon family are my number one wrestling villains. There had to be. All three of them had to be. So that's what I think. What do you think? Who do you think is the best wrestling villain? Let me know. I'm curious. I told you mine. So if you want to let me know, let me know. So I have another top 10 coming up. And I hope you enjoy this month of wrestling videos.